So if you clicked on this video, you're probably in a situation where you feel like you need somebody. You feel like you're relying on somebody to bring you happiness, for you to be at peace, for you to, not be in this anxious state or feeling like your life is completely falling apart. And I just want to say, first things first, I relate to you. And it's okay to be there, and you're not going to be stuck there forever, because I'm going to tell you my exact story in this video, but also what I did to get out of the exact place that you're in. And so I understand what it's like to feel like you're not okay being alone. Many of us, including myself once upon a time, wasn't okay with being alone. I couldn't sit with my thoughts. I couldn't just chill out in the house. I always needed some type of distraction. In school, I always needed the attention of others. I'll tell you, I was the worst kid in the class because I was always seeking out attention. I was always trying to make people laugh. I couldn't just sit still. I couldn't just be good in life. I got my happiness. I fed off energy being received from others. I fed off of laughs. I fed off of attention. I fed off of, my relationships and hanging out with people and feeling good enough, from other people's viewpoints, And so it got to a point once upon a time where I realized that my inability to be good with myself, my inability to just be good on my own, made me, not have respect for myself. It made me not be able to speak up for myself. It made me not be able to express my emotions. It made me feel like I had to constantly feel like I had to be somebody that I wasn't, or I had to be a specific type of person. And that was all because I wasn't just comfortable by myself. And so I was afraid of losing people. I was afraid of being seen as a bad person. I was afraid of not receiving the validation I was looking for. So as you probably know, it puts you in a state where it's like you overthink everything. You overthink every decision you make. You constantly feel like you got to try and prove yourself to people. People feel like a need in your life. It's like, at one point in time, in my relationships, I was like, dang, I need this person, and then I'm gonna be good. Then I need this person in order to know I'm doing things the right way. I need this person's approval. I need this person to like me so that I could be good with myself, so I could like myself. And eventually it got to a point where I was like, I gotta get comfortable being alone, because I realized the damage that was doing to my life by not being able to be alone. And so that put me in a state where it was like, I had to really get to understand myself. Who was I to me? And that's probably what you got to do as well, because when you develop a relationship with yourself, when you understand that there's more to life, there's a bigger purpose to life than just your relationships, than just love, than just these little small areas of life, you'll see that, man, there's so much more to life regardless of if this person accepts me. You have your relationship with God, and then you have a relationship with yourself. You have your own personal purpose. It's like, dang, there's so many other things that can supply me with happiness. There's so many other things that can fulfill me and make me feel good on my own. Am I saying we're supposed to be lonely for the rest of our lives, or you're not supposed to go out and try and have friends? No, I'm saying your friends shouldn't be your source of happiness, because when they're your source of happiness, then it makes you, again, lose all self-respect for yourself. It makes you overlook certain things. It makes you make excuses for other people, because you're walking on eggshells in your relationships, because you're just like, oh, I don't want to piss this person off. I don't want them to see me this way. I don't want them to think of me in this way. When it's like, if you have a relationship with yourself, then you'll understand that the most important person you need to take care of is yourself. And you wouldn't be showing yourself self-love by allowing yourself to get disrespected, by allowing people to talk any kind of way to you, by allowing people to treat you any kind of way. And so it'd be like, dang, I love myself too much to even allow myself to remain in this situation, to even allow myself to keep being around this person because of the damage that they do to my life. And so many of you think you need other people in order to be at peace, but really you just need yourself. And when I say you need yourself, I mean you need to build a relationship with yourself. You need to learn how to supply yourself with the feelings that you might be relying on other people for. And many of you aren't even relying on a feeling necessarily. You're relying on them to determine who you are, them to determine how you view yourself. Many of you are in a situation where it's like, dang, I need their approval because I haven't learned to approve me myself. I need their acceptance because I haven't accepted who I am. And so it's like you're putting all these different versions of yourself out there. Like, oh, is this good enough? Is this person good enough? Is this version of me good enough? Because you haven't learned to just love the version of you that's actually you. Many of you have got caught up in this way of living where you're constantly in character. You're constantly putting on a mask. You're constantly feeling like you have to be somebody that's not truly you, to the point that you may not even know who you are anymore. So you might be saying like, yeah, I don't know who I am, but how do I get to know who I am? Because I've forgotten who I was. And again, this is really why I went into a place of solitude. When I say solitude, I mean, I wasn't texting nobody. I'm not saying it has to be this drastic for you or this, extreme for you, but I wasn't texting nobody. I used to be on Discord a lot. I wasn't on Discord. I wasn't hanging out with people. I was literally just in the house. I started journaling and getting a better understanding of myself. Eventually, I got into different hobbies where I was like, dang, I wanted to try this thing out before, and now I'm going to actually make the time to actually try it out rather than just saying it. I started actually looking for my purpose. I got more focused in school and, just being good with myself, learning how to spend time with myself, learning how to entertain myself and learn how to get comfortable with being alone with my thoughts, understanding and reframing my thoughts, understanding how to be at peace with my own mind so that I didn't need to constantly be distracted. I'm a person where I constantly felt like I got to be on the game. I got to be hanging out with people. I got to be doing something. I got to be playing a sport. It's like every Saturday come around, every Friday came around, I'm like, yo, what we doing? I need to be doing something. Or I'm on the game for 12 hours of the day because I couldn't just sit there alone. I always needed the TV on. I always needed music on. I just always needed something. But when I learned to really sit still and like listen to myself, and I'm saying listen to myself as in, what in life is pulling me towards it. I feel like you understand yourself when you listen to yourself, when you understand what, calls your name essentially. It might be a genre of music where it's like, dang, I started listening to this type of music because that's what seemed cool, but really my heart is over here. It might be what you value in life. You may not value partying. You may not value sports. You may not value a specific type of artist or anything in life. You may not value something. But when you actually learn to listen to yourself, you're like, dang, I value art. I value video creation. I'm really a tech geek, and this calls my name. And when you really like learn to listen to that part of you, then it's like, okay, now I can pursue this. But many of you aren't pursuing where your heart is calling you because you're so worried about how it's seen in the eyes of others. You think you need other people's approval in order to be happy in life. But really being happy in life is living a life that aligns to your true self. It's going after the things, solving the problems that you actually enjoy solving. And that's how you learn to be alone, because you see, again, there's a bigger purpose and there's more to life than just relationships, than just friendships, than just whatever you might value or think like the world revolves around. You understand you have a personal purpose. You understand that there's a relationship with God that you can build. And when I started finding all these different things and truly like questioning, like, Will, what do you care about? Will, what does it really look like to just be you? What makes you a comfortable person? And the more I started understanding that, I don't need the attention of others, but I've thought I've needed it for so long. I'm like, I really don't need attention. I just needed to learn how to like validate myself. I was only looking for the attention of others to tell me like, oh, you're funny, or oh, I want to be friends with you and stuff like that. But I realized like I'm actually a chill person. But attention was the only way I saw to get the thing in which I needed from other people. Like I've said in a previous video, you don't want the person, you want the feeling they can provide to you. When I learned to provide the feeling of validation to myself, self-love, understanding who I am and accepting myself for who I am rather than needing the acceptance of others in order to accept myself, then it put me in a state where it was like, dang, I don't even need to stand out. Dang, I don't even need to do all this stuff. I just need to be me, be the person that brings me happiness, be the person that makes me feel fulfilled, be the person that brings myself joy and allows me to be at peace. Luckily for myself, I've surrounded myself around people where it's like they aren't very judgmental, or at least I've gotten to a place where it's like even if they judge, it doesn't make me second guess who I am. Like I'm a person where I listen to country music, or I'm a person where I've played certain video games that people might deem as weird. I got into motivational content and nobody ever thought I would do that at some point. But it was like, when I saw a vision for myself, when I saw like just something I was interested in, I allowed myself to go out and pursue it. And it's led me to being happy because I see what my heart gains an interest in. I've done things like run clubs. I've done things like Uno tournaments, like things that are just out of the ordinary. But it's like, I just do it because I like doing it. Flag football. Like, people will have opinions and they'll be like, dang, that's weird. Dang, you're a grown man doing that. Dang, you're 21 years old. You shouldn't have, that's childish or whatever. But it's like, bro, if you have a calling to it, like, go do it and truly learn to just listen to yourself. Because when you listen to yourself and where your heart is in life, it's like, man, it allows you to just do what you want. And when you get to a place where it's like, I'm going to do what I want regardless, then you stop second guessing things. You stop being like, dang, what are other people going to think of this? Dang, how are they going to feel about it? Are they going to accept it? Are they going to still want to hang? Like, when you just good on your own and you learn to, find your purpose, understand who you are to yourself, to where, whether other people like you, whether other people are accepting you, that doesn't determine whether you accept or like yourself. It's like, when you build that relationship and that connection with your true self, it's like, man, I already understand why I am the way I am. I understand the person that I am. And when you understand why you're living the life in which you do, then other people aren't going to be able to steer you off that path, because it's like, bro, I already know why I'm living this life. I don't need you to understand why I'm living this life. I don't need you to approve of this life, because I understand this way of living is what allows me to be at peace. This way of living is what allows me to be happy. And when you really learn to supply yourself with your own comfort, supply yourself with your own validation, supply yourself with your own self-love, and not need people for those things, man, you're going to become so comfortable in your own skin. You're going to become so comfortable in not chasing after people, not trying to stand out, not trying to gain the approval or the acceptance of a certain group of people. Yeah, I'm not saying this is going to happen overnight. I'm saying this is a slow process. This is a process you got to, again, come comfortable being with yourself. I think that's the most important step, because if you don't get to a place where you're even trying to be alone, you'll never be able to hear yourself. Because many of you right now, you might hear yourself for a split second, but then you get into these thoughts of, oh, what are they going to think? Oh, how does it look to them? And then it's like you drown out your own internal voice. But when you really learn to, be alone, listen to your own thoughts, get an understanding of your own thoughts and why you even thinking the way you do, then you get to change your mindset, change your perspective, change your way of viewing things. Again, change your beliefs about yourself, change your viewpoint of yourself. Because many of you have a negative perspective, or you have a perspective of who you are because of who other people have told you that you are. You don't even know who you are to you. You just have a perspective or a idea of who you are based off what other people have told you about yourself, whether other people have told you you're good enough, whether other people told you you can or can't do something. But when you really learn to sit with yourself and you're like, dang, I'm capable of doing that because I have this skill, I have that skill, I've done this in my past. I feel like I could, if I made this plan, I could accomplish that. The same thing with me. If I ask my mom, if I ask my dad, if I ask my friends, do you think I could do this content creation stuff? Do you think I could do this? Do you think I could do that? They would have said no. They would have said you're a goofball. They would have said you're a class clown. What would ever inspire you to do motivational content? But when I learned to be alone, I was like, dang. I was literally just sitting there thinking like, dang. That's a unique perspective. Dang, that's a unique way of viewing the world. That's a different way of thinking. And then I got to a point where I was like, that's kind of interesting. Like, many people don't think like that. And then I got to a point where I was like, many people don't think like me. Like, I've never heard anybody say these different things. And that in itself, I was like, dang, that's got to be valuable. This got to be able to help other people. And so seeing that within myself from my own voice and just, again, listening to my own inner thoughts, I was like, dang, I might got something here. And now see it, I pursued it and I went through with it without asking other people and getting their acceptance or their permission. And it's led me to where I am today. It's led you to watching this video. It's led to me being able to give you value that will now allow you to follow in right behind me down the path to hopefully find your own purpose, hopefully find your own self, hopefully find your way of supplying your happiness to yourself. But my camera's about to die, but I do appreciate you guys for making it to the end of this video. I hope you took away more than 2 things away from it, but be sure to join up on the Discord down below, as well as sign up for my Letting Go to Grow community that's coming out very, very soon. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Catch you guys in the next video. Peace.